I'm loving this piece I made. Industrial, almost steampunk. Look at this. And you didn't get to watch me make it, so let's make a similar one. This is Jasper, I'm telling you. Jasper comes in all these different colors, patterns. Such a good stone. Antique copper, can't go wrong. I think that's one of the best subtle metal colors you can work with. All right, let's make some. Couldn't find the exact stones as the other one because they're one of a kind, but wanted to show you basically the same idea. So I found a stone that has a hole coming up through the middle of it. This isn't the exact middle, but a lot of holes, they'll just put the hole on the tip, or they'll have the hole drilled straight through. I like when they're straight through, but anyway, when they have the hole drilled through the flat part of it, kind of gives you an ability to do this neat swirl thing that I'll show you. So I've cut about a foot, 20 gauge antique copper coated wire. It's really regular copper, but the coating is supposed to look antique copper, but cool thing about it is if that coating rubs off underneath is real copper, unprotected, which will eventually tarnish and turn into the same color. So it's like a win-win metal right there. If you keep it coated, you're good. If it scratches, you're good. If it rubs off, you're good. Anyway, so I crimped it like that. See the crimp it tight. Side I want to be up, I'm going to hold it tight. I'm going to make myself a little swirl. Forgive me if I fall out of camera range here. Now the swirl, you got to be careful. You got to hold it tight. You don't want it to touch itself. You got to play with it as it goes in and out. Now this swirl is going off the stone, as you can see, because it's not centered. That's okay. You get the idea. There we go. And the swirl doesn't have to be a perfect circle or oval or anything. You can do whatever you want with it, but I have my swirl here. So the idea is when we make a bracelet, see a pendant, we just need a loop on one end to connect it to the cord or chain. Bracelet, we want a loop on both ends. So we take this piece of wire and we can make it a loop, or you can make a loop anywhere as long as you reinforce it later with the other piece of wire, the other end. So I'm going to make a loop that's convenient. It's already here. I'm going to take my loop making round nose pliers. You don't need these, but they make the loops a little bit more round. Just kind of roll that in there. All right. And just to secure it, I'm going to take the other end and scarf it, what I call scarfing it. Pretend it's a face and wrap the scarf around. You can go around once, twice, 3 times, 14 times, however you feel like it. So there we go. We have one side done, and now you look at the back here. Let's bring this straight down. We're not going to put any pattern on this. This is the back, and we need it to be strong, so we're pulling it tight. And we're going to do our other loop right here. At the moment, it's very insecure. It can just move all over. So we're going to fix that. First of all, let's make it tight. Make your loops small and tight if you can. You can always make big loops. Big loops are easy. Small and tight ones are hard to control. As you get better, you'll get them tighter and smaller. And then, yeah, but you want big loops. It looks fancier from far away. No, the little loops give you more room on your stone to do more designs. And they're harder to maintain, they're harder to manage, they take more muscle to get them in place, so try to make your loops really tight when you're starting out. Okay, so now I have my loop on both sides. Again, this one is not as secure, so we're going to come around with this guy. If I came straight down, that wouldn't make it any more secure, so I have to come over the top of the stone like this, and that's also going to fill in the missing spot there where the stone didn't really have any decoration, and we're going to scarf it from there. I'm going to go around twice. Now we got a cool pattern going like that. Now I'm going to ask myself, does this secure it quite a bit more? Not completely. Again, the balance between beauty and functionality. You always want every part of your piece to be secure and tight. So I'm going to take this and come back around this way. It's going to give it even more of a pretty pattern. And where am I going to anchor it again? Well, I'm just going to go right back to my first loop. Come back around. Try not to make it look too messy. Try to pull it in tight. And I'll give him a third loop around there. You can go around twice. You can go around as many times as you need to get it all the way up to the top, but it's nice to have a loop that makes it look pretty. If this is a face, and you have the scarf coming up all the way over the face, then it kind of defeats the purpose of being a scarf. Then it's just a mask, or the poor little loop person can't see. Alright, so we got that. Another thing with these, do you want them round or do you want them flat? It's always adjusting. I like to flatten these parts just a little bit. And then when you flatten them, you have stuff that sticks out left and right, like this right here. I want to pull that tight. I'm going to crimp it. It's a lot of adjusting and playing around as you learn the secrets of what works and what doesn't work. Okay, I'm left with this piece. This loop doesn't have a good scarf, so we're just going to come around. And this is actually, it's the same part that made the loop, so he's making his own scarf. And as I make the scarf, it'll try to roll. So I just keep bringing it back forward. Crimp these flat. Hold it tight as I do the rest of the scarfing. One more time should be good. And then I'm going to cut it. Tuck in this sharp end. This wants to fight me, gotta hit it from all angles. Pinch it, pinch it, pinch it, get it in. Move this loop a little bit the way I want. Always messing around with the piece. Spend more time adjusting than I do actually wrapping. That's good, because then once you get good at it, you can go faster and faster. Alright, I like that. Adjusting this, adjusting. When it's a bracelet, I like to give it a little bit of a curve because it's going across the wrist. So this part faces up. I want this part to kind of bend it a little bit so it's already taking the shape of the wrist. All right, so that part is good. These two are easy. I couldn't find two stones that were exactly the same, but they're the same color, same kind of stone. Close enough. Sometimes the irregularity makes it cooler. And I'm bringing it to the center. Sorry, this is about 6 inches. Same 20 gauge antique copper. Bring it about to the center, crimp, crimp, loop, loop, just like before. See that? This loop looks not quite as round as I want it, so I'm going to use these pliers, roll it, get it tight against the stone, hold it flat, pull it out, and then these two guys are going to do the do-si-do swirl. The do-si-do swirl, one of the prettiest swirls, super easy. You just cross two wires and you make them start swirling around each other, spinning the same direction. Do-si-do swirl. It's called do-si-do because it looks like in a square dance when two people link arms and start running around each other. And you just go one side, the other side, one side, the other side, until you have enough of a swirl that you're happy. I'm happy with that. I'm already instinctively bending these around the wrist, these two loops. And then my do-si-do swirl pops up, I push it back down. One side is going to scarf this loop. Come on, focus camera. The other side is going to scarf this loop. Come around the back. Tiny little cut. Leave the tiniest little bit to tuck in. If you leave too much to tuck in, you're gonna have a harder time tucking it. Sometimes I'll cut off a fraction of a millimeter 3 times just to get the right amount so it gets right in that. See, it makes a bowl. When you scarf it, it kind of makes a bowl, and then you can tuck the sharp end right into that bowl. Just pinch it right in. And that sharp end is pretty much hidden from the world forever. Never to scratch a poor soul. Okay, there we go. That's pretty. It's pretty. Make it tight, mess with it some more, because that's all I do all day. And put it down here. Let's see, focus camera. There we go. Oh, that's gonna look good. Let's get this next one going. We'll speed this one up. Now we just get some jump rings. It's important to have jump rings in every size and color that you're going to be working with. These are like, I don't know, 3 millimeter maybe? Very tiny. Come on, focus there, camera. Camera doesn't like these. Anyway, there we go. I can close these with my fingernails. I could close them even without the pliers, but you got to develop calluses, kind of like playing the guitar. Now, if you put more than one, I like to put 2 or 3 to connect these. It'll keep it from rolling on the wrist, so that the side you want to face up will face up when the person's wearing it. If you don't care if it rolls, looks pretty on the back and the front, then don't worry about it. These little suckers are actually strong. The smaller the ring, often the stronger it is. Same thing with a loop. How strong the loop is depends a lot on how small it is. The tighter the loop, even with thin wire, the stronger it'll be and the less prone to opening up if somebody snags it or yanks on it too hard. I always like to make my jewelry extra strong. When I see someone who buys craft sales, they make this beautiful jewelry and it's flimsy as hell, and I know that poor person is going to go home with that beautiful piece and wear it twice if they're lucky before that thing gets mangled just by living. This jewelry takes a beating. Throw it down, drive your off-road truck right over it, won't even get a scratch. That may be an exaggeration, just maybe. And this is pretty much it. Now we just add 2 links of chain, lobster clasp, and we're good. You'd be surprised you only need about maybe 1.5 inches of chain on each side, and then your lobster clasp. And that's pretty much good for most wrists. The average wrist, 6 inches, 7 inches. What I do is I take the smallest wrist. I think I make it about a 5 inches. And then I start putting a bunch of bigger jump rings on the end and give myself about 2 inches of bigger jump rings. And that way you can clasp the lobster clasp to any jump ring, make it any size you want. I do that for necklaces too, but even more so for bracelets, because you want them to fit just the way the person likes. And you're not going to be able to anticipate what size their wrist is, even if it's a gift for someone you know. You never really know till they try it on. Lobster clasp is one of my favorites, but sometimes you might not have a lobster clasp, or you might not have one in the color metal that you need. So as much as these guys are super awesome, I'm gonna show you how to make your own clasp while I'm here. Take about 4 or 5 inches of whatever gauge you have. 20, should be 20 or 18 or 16. I wouldn't go higher than 20. You know, as the gauge goes higher, it's thinner, the opposite of what you'd think. It's the same with needles. I happen to have been a medic for a very short time, so I knew that. Anyway, so you take this, and we're going to bend it right in the middle, and we're going to pinch it tight. Careful not to slip while you're pinching this. Okay, And we're just going to pull that tight together. And we're going to make a hook. See that hook? First few times you make it might be too big, too small. Just keep playing with it. There's nothing wrong with using wire. You're not wasting it. You're learning. So there we go. Then the other side, we're going to bend it backwards. Actually, we'll pull the hook out of the way. I should have pulled that out of the way first. And we're going to loop it. And then we're just going to wrap it, kind of scarf it around here. And you don't have to go crazy with it. Just next thing you got to do is just tuck in the sharp ends. Just fit them anywhere. I don't even care where. And there you have it, your own little clasp. Show the person you give it to how you connect it to the jump ring. Make sure it'll fit in the jump ring. And then once you get it in the jump ring, you just pinch it. Boom, you're good. And don't worry, will you weaken it by opening and closing it every day? Eventually, but this tiny amount of pinching for copper, which is already very flexible, you'd have to move this back and forth hundreds of times before you actually weaken it.